Hey guys, this is part 3 of 5 of the Rio Lobo Streets of Blackthorn County bookend build. So in this build we'll finish off most of the construction-y things and start the painting bit. So where we left off, I glued the bottom half of the chairs together with the paper clips in them. To make the back legs, I had to get the length of the legs right and score a little line in them and then bend them so that they had bent back on an angle but hadn't snapped. Which I managed to do without any casualties. That was good. Then I got a little piece of cardboard and put it across the back, and then got the base of the seat that I'd already cut and put it in. So coming up here is a slow-mo, which should have been slower, but apparently I fast-forwarded it previously. So that's how the chairs looked when they were glued together. Partly cardboard, partly paperclip, partly matchstick. And that process was repeated for the 3 of the chairs. And they came up really good. Would have liked a few more spindles in them, but they were just a little bit too small. That would be a thing that a 3D printer probably would overcome if you had access to a 3D printer and were doing it. This is putting together the Milner's sign, just paperclip, just a, what do you call it, a toothpick and the cardboard around it, so you can see it's just glued together. That was pretty simple in comparison to the sheriff's one. After that we get up to the painting sort of side of things. So I painted the background blue. I had left this because I was trying to decide whether I was going to do a Rio Lobo poster or what it was going to be, but in the end I decided, seeing as how the town was coming together and being a little bit more realistic, that I'd go for blue sky, and then later I painted mountains in it. The Milner's roof is fairly easy. It was a greeny sort of colour and the bricks were brown. Now I noticed when I was doing this that I have no video of the first coat on the bricks, so the only thing that I can think is that I had filled up the camera, and once again I was waiting for it to cross over, upload to the computer, and I needed to get stuff done because it's time sensitive. So I apologise that I haven't got the brickwork being painted for the Milner's shop, but the next time you see it being painted, it's actually picking out individual bricks. So I painted all of the woodwork that's on this building the same green as it appears in the movie, and then it's got a grey wash over the top of it. So with the green it looked very smart and new and like it would have when it was first done. Then I had to overbrush it with a really light coat of a grey that I used, and I just used one of the greys that I'd been doing on the sheriff's building. So the windows were painted inside and out, the window frames, and all of the timber work that would be timber on this building was done with the same green, except with the exception of the planks that are all weathered in the show. Then I did just a basic coat of an ochre colour. It's a Citadel paint. I can't remember which one it was. It could have been drab, but I don't know. It did that as a basic colour on the chairs. They get a brown wash a little bit later that makes them look like they're stained, and that was enough for them because they're just sitting in the sitting on the front veranda. I did paint the bottoms of them, but you didn't need to because you don't see it. So then it was more painting. Painting the doors, painting the timber work. That's the sheriff's door, so like I said, it's got a few details on it. I made sure that I painted all of the window sections, even the bit that goes inside, behind after the perspex is glued on, just so that when you look through it you didn't get a white piece of card showing, and it gives you more of the impression of the way it's going to go when it's the way it would be if it was a real window. So painting the sheriff's building was fiddly in terms of getting the brush in, but actually not very tricky to do. I used a regular, just funky artist brush with short hairs, so one of the squarey shaped ones, not a round one, with shorter hairs. So it was still flexible. It wasn't like it was a daggy brush, but it did mean that I didn't have to. But sort of as it dragged down, it left a little bit of grain. So the grey that went on the awning and the roof of the thing, I also used very lightly over the top of the green, as I was saying before, to give it a bit of a weathered sort of a feel to it all. and then used the same grey for the timber work. So the process for painting all of the timberwork parts of both of the buildings was a combination of the grey sort of, it was a greeny grey on both the buildings, just in different lighter shades. So it was so it just meant that I got a green and a grey and made them up, and then added darker paint, black paint and lighter paint, and continually went over the top of them and just weathered them that way. So they got little dragging in directions, a paint job without it being a solid, like it was never a solid cover. It was only the with the exception of the posts on the sheriff's office that got a good full coat of grey. That's just painting the grey on the sign. The chairs got another little bit of a grey, sort of a grain line brushed into them. This is that there. So I brushed them a little bit to give them a little bit of graininess, so that when I did a wash, I was hoping that would show up, and it did. They've come up really well, the way that they've finished when the wash was done. And the signs, same thing. The signs were just painted until they looked the same colour as they do in the show, and given just a light dry brush in places. Once again, I did the weatherboards on the building with another light coat. So it had a bunch of light coats of the grey, just till I had covered up the pen marks and different things. And between the dragging of the brush technique and the wash that I did later, and then dragging the wash down, I got the weathered enough looking boards with the feel of that they'd been out in the rain, and that they're starting to go grey, and they probably should get looked after before they start rotting and developing problems. And the sheriff's office is quite a lot more weathered than the Milner's bricks appear to be. So as it was really fun as this started to come together, because I was feeling like it was actually going to look like the timber when it was done. So a couple of diner shots to where they're up to now. Like I said, I didn't get any video of the brickwork being painted, so the next thing we see of the Milner's shop is that it's actually, the bricks are already painted. So sorry about that, don't know where it is. I've just been to check all of my videos and I haven't got them anywhere. To get a more realistic brick texture whenever you're painting bricks, it's good to pick out some bricks in different colours. I noticed on one of the times through on the movie for this one, that there seem to have been places where, I'm assuming because they're clay bricks, they may not have been fired, and it looked like there'd been places where bits had fallen off and they'd been patched. So I went with a really light colour to enhance the feel of that. I did a whole bunch of the light bricks in the places where I could see in the picture that it might have fallen out. This is a little bit of just guesswork, certainly for the sides of the building that you don't see. And it's a little bit of a case of less is more. I did the same, did a slightly darker brick and put some colours on, just made some different bricks. I tried to get some groups of colours, some groups of bricks together, but not so many that they're all in a row. The idea is that you're thinking that when they've made the bricks, there might have been some that had slightly different dirt on the day, and they will have ended up being made in the same batch and dried together, but they haven't necessarily all been picked up, so that you've got one half of the building's a different colour to the other one. So when you do this sort of thing and paint the bricks with an extra little dot of a different colour in places, and then you do your wash over the top of it, it looks a whole lot more realistic, because in real life, even if you buy bricks from the brick shop, they don't usually, and I don't mean that you don't buy them from a brick shop normally, I mean if they're not second hand, you still get variations even in brand new pallets of bricks. Just mixed up a grey that looked like the weathering darker than the floorboards are in the finished thing, because they're going to get dry brushed with a lighter grey over the top of them. So as with all of always, when I'm doing a technique that's going to have a dry brushing, I always make sure that the base coat is much darker than it needs to be, because you always pull it when you do a dry brush over the top of it, you always pull it back. Used my Trigger wash. Thank you to Geek Gaming Services for that, how to make a wash for yourself. Love this wash, use it for just about everything, unless I need a brown, in which case I've got a Army Painter one, no, AK Interactive brown wash that I use. So this wash went over everything, both buildings. So even though the brickwork looks like brickwork and the timberwork looks like timberwork, the colour still, the wash just worked to bring out the colours that were in them normally. Then it was a process of dry brushing. So for the sheriff's posts, I did fairly heavily, because they are a different colour than the building. They got a fairly serious dry brush. The veranda boards got a bit of a wash, and the roof line got a fairly heavy wash as well, because they're the most exposed. So all the timber between the two buildings, the decking boards, all ended up the same, and the bits that got the most weathering got a heavier dry brush on them. I did a dark wash on the bricks, but then I thought that it could really benefit when I had looked at the picture from a lighter wash over the top of it. So I just watered down some white paint and put it on, and then wiped it back, and this gave me a really nice finish. So this will bring us up to the end of this particular video, and there'll be a couple of glamour shots just showing you how the brickwork turned out. And then in the next video we assemble most of the street together, and then the final video will be the painting of the cowboys, and then the glamour shots as it spins around. So thank you for watching. I hope that you're enjoying the process, as I always do. There's the wash on your little chairs so that they look timbery when they're done. That's the wash inside the sheriff, so the sheriff's floorboards look like floorboards separate from the boards outside. So here we are at the end, and I thank you for watching and hope that you're enjoying the process, and I'll see you with the next video, and we'll see how it comes together even further then. Alright, have a great afternoon. Thanks for watching. Bye.